The Soviet Union, one of the most controversial countries in the whole history of countries and humankind ever created, if not the most. Of course, the Soviet Union is mostly known for the Cold War and communism and such like that, or maybe Stalin or something like that, of course. It also was and is the biggest country in history of Europe, basically, and not just the history of Europe, basically, the history of Asia technically too. But it technically still is, because if is Russia, which Russia is just like the remainings of the Soviet Union, or at least one of the biggest remainings, were not one of the biggest remaining of the Soviet Union that gave us. Yeah, of course. The Soviet Union was a big chunky boy, of course, and a lot of people hated it and still hates it, because it's controversial, of course, as I said earlier. Yeah, I repeat my words, I know that. And also created itself some kind of protection from other European countries, and basically made like an imaginary wall with the Eastern European countries, and made all of its neighboring countries in Europe communist. Well, not all of them technically. There was one left that he couldn't get it, but we don't talk about that. So here we go, the history of the Soviet Union, aka USSR or CCCR. But it doesn't matter, let's go into it. Everything begins with something. Every republic begins with a revolution. Every story begins with some beginning, of course. So you probably know of the Russian Revolution. And if you know at least a bit about it, you know that was basically Lenin versus the Tsar. Well, there's more to it. And this video is gonna talk about the revolution, the Russian Revolution, but I'm not gonna go in detail with everything that happened in the Russian Revolution. If you want to go to a video where it talks in detail about the Russian Revolution, you can check out Oversimplified's channel. I don't know him, I just think he's cool and I'm actually a fan of him. You can check out Oversimplified channel, and you can watch the two videos about the Russian Revolution and such. Okay, let's go into it. My oversimplified version. The leader of the country is Tsar Nicholas II or Tsar Nikolai II. I don't know if I'm saying right, I don't care. The flag is this one, and the name of the country is Russian Empire, is the Russian Empire. Because it was an empire at the time and was one of the biggest empire in the history of humankind, but not the biggest. The Tsar was hated by his people, but he didn't really want the other people in other countries to see that. He wasn't ready to be a leader, and he knew that. That's the worst part about it, I think. Everyone hated him. The workers hated him, the peasants and the civilians hated him, and the liberals hated him. Basically everyone and everything in Russia. There was even a very peaceful revolution led by some priests. They just wanted to get this paper contract thing, this paper of ideas about what the Tsar should change in the country to Nicholas. But the thing is, Nicholas wasn't in the country at the time. He was out of the country, and the soldiers just decided to respond with fire. And of course, everyone pointed fingers at Nicholas because he was the Tsar and the one who leads the country, of course. There was also the Marxists, aka socialists, the Marxists, which now they call themselves Bolsheviks, because the Marxists split it in half into Bolsheviks and Miro. I forgot how they were called. Go search on Google or something. And the Bolsheviks created local city councils called Soviets, of course. Now we get in our old good friend, World War One. People were starving and were hungrier and hungrier in World War One because of the war. Obviously, and not just the normal civilians and peasants were getting hungry, but also the soldiers, because they were getting out of food while sitting in trench. So they just asked Nicholas to abdicate. The whole country asked him to abdicate. His friends asked him to abdicate, and he abdicated. The end. Just kidding. That's not the end. Who leads the country now? Well, technically, legally speaking, the liberals, but the Marxists they were kind of trying to control the country, and basically the liberals and Marxists fought against each other politically, peacefully, in a way peaceful, while basically creating a balance between the country of good and evil and stuff like that. So where's the all communist stuff? Where those Soviet Union begins? Where is our good old friend Lenin? Well, the Germans were asking themselves, hey, why is Russia still in the war? The Tsar abdicated, why they would still be in the war? That doesn't make sense. So they just went to Switzerland, where some Bolshevik socialist guy who caused a lot of chaos in Russia and was kicked out of Russia, and he ran out to Switzerland and stayed there. His name was, you guessed it, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin. The Germans went to Lenin and were like, hello, we want that you go back to Russia and create chaos again. Would you like that? Create chaos and get Russia out of the war and stuff. I thought you would never ask me this. So he went in his first train all the way to St. Petersburg. And he was like, my fellow boys and girls, what the fuck is this shit? Yes, you made the Tsar abdicate, but the people are still hungrier and hungrier with every day. They are waiting for you to get food on their tables, and you don't do that. You suck. This parliament suck. You guys sucks. Yeah. And he was technically right, because people were still starving even though the Tsar abdicated and the rebels and Marxists were leading the country. But, of course, people that were agreeing with him, not Marxists, but, Marxist supporters and Bolshevik supporters and stuff like that, they started, creating chaos in the fucking country, because why not? Am I right, guys? And, of course, the leader of Russia at the time, Alexander Fyodorovich Kerensky, he was basically the prime minister of the country. He saw like the Bolsheviks were doing this, plus the Bolshevik supporters keep saying how the Bolsheviks were great, and they were saying they're doing this for the Bolsheviks, but the Bolsheviks didn't have anything to do with that. And so, our friend here, Kerensky, started arresting Bolsheviks in right and left. But then the Bolsheviks got guns. Yes, they got guns, and so Lenin came back out of his hiding. He was hiding in Finland, which was part of the Russia at the time. He was hiding in Finland in disguise, and he went back to St. Petersburg when he saw that the Bolsheviks got guns, and so they started the Russian Communist Revolution, where, of course, I should stop saying of course, but but the Bolsheviks started going around the party buildings and stuff like that, getting people out and getting power over those buildings, and so they were slowly getting the whole power in Russia just by storming some buildings. And they got to the final building, the parliament building. All the Bolsheviks were there with flags and guns in their hands, and Lenin finally came out of his hiding to play an important role in this, and so he can be the leader of the country. So they stormed in the parliament, and they were like, "Hi, bitches," and they won. They just won. The soldiers that were there gave up, and so this is basically where the actual history of the Soviet Union begins. Lenin was happy. He was finally the leader of Russia, which means he could create that good communist utopia he wanted to create since he became a Marxist. Sir, should we get people to vote and stuff like that? Yes, of course, my child. We should get people to vote. Of course. Let's see how the votes went. Okay, those doesn't count. That was rigged. Yeah, I am the leader now. For now on, I'm the only leader of this beautiful country. And so, Vladimir Lenin became a dictator of the Russian Federative Soviet Socialist Republic. And that was the end of part 1.
Well, I'll be honest, I don't really understand, but I fell down this hill. Now I got glue on my hands and I got records on my fingers. Records on my fingers, I got records on my fingers, and I just can't stop.